प्रेजेंटेड बाय eBix कैश। हर खुशी के लिए काफी है।
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the headlines tonight. Nifty ends just shy of 18,000 as bears take over the Lal Street. Sensex falls nearly 400 points. Financials reliance drag while auto stocks outshine amid reports of an improvement in chip shortage issue. Even as the government engages market participants to hash out regulations for cryptocurrencies, the RBI sticks to its guns, reiterates its stance that cryptos are a major concern, says blockchain technology will flourish with or without cryptos. Good news for rail passengers. Travel may get cheaper as fares could fall by as much as 15% in the next few days. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala Akasa spreads its wings, orders 72 Boeing 737 aircraft. Prime Minister Modi's Hercules Act in eastern UP again puts the spotlight on infra development. Government sources tell Buisness Today TV that 17 more highway stretches to be turned into emergency runways. And it's the return of the big Indian wedding. Spending boost could very well be what the doctor prescribed for the Indian economy. Markets are seen consolidating with selling at the higher end of the range, capping the upside somewhat today. The markets did see some sharp selling in the last hour, the Nifty closing at the day's low, settling down about 110 points, just shy of 18,000. Sensex ending 396 points lower as well in trade today. Auto shares were in focus after Morgan Stanley's report suggested that the auto chip shortage issue is now behind us. Nifty Auto was the top sectoral gainer. Maruti Suzuki, M&M, Tata Motors and Hero MotoCorp were among the top gainers. On the other hand, Shree Cement, Reliance, SBI, Hindalco, Tata Consumer, some of the top laggards in trade today. The government may be going full speed ahead in its plans to make a law to regulate cryptocurrencies, but the Reserve Bank of India refuses to change its view on the subject. The central bank governor reiterated that cryptos remain a big concern for regulators and that numbers advertised by market players are grossly exaggerated.
There is a need for much deeper discussion. When the central bank says that we have serious concerns from the point of view of macroeconomic and financial stability, there are deeper issues involved. There are far deeper issues involved which form part of this, what I have been saying, macroeconomic and financial stability. I am yet to see serious, well-informed discussion in the public space on these issues. The discussions are that, it's a new technology, we should capitalize on it. And I have said it earlier, this technology is more than 10 years old. The blockchain technology is nothing new. It did not come yesterday. It has been there for 10 years. The technology, I have said this before, the technology can grow and will grow without cryptocurrencies or whatever name you use to describe cryptocurrencies. So at this point, I would only like to say that when the Reserve Bank of India, as the central bank of the country, which is entrusted with the responsibility of maintaining financial stability, when the Reserve Bank, after due internal deliberation, says that there are serious concerns on macroeconomic and financial stability, there are deeper issues which need much deeper discussion, much more well-informed discussion.
In the latest issue of the Business Today magazine, we take a closer look at how companies have been forced back to the drawing board, with shareholders increasingly asking uncomfortable questions and setting the tone for greater accountability and transparency in India Inc. Listen in to a conversation I had with this expert panel on shareholder activism and whether it's here to stay.
While we are focusing on obviously the larger companies, the better known ones, and there are many others. Let's say the BT top 500, for instance, Okay, now you have these companies where a lot of this discussion is happening. There is a huge number of mid-size and smaller companies.
Exactly.
I'm not sure how much of activism is actually happening. I mean, taking off from the point which you mentioned about newer shareholders coming in, newer investors coming in into the market, and many of these so-called multi-baggers which are sort of hitting new highs in the smaller and even smaller size companies, very small companies. I mean, there are shareholders there too. Are they raising enough voices? Are the proxy investors, proxy advisors looking at them? Are institutions looking at them? We would like to know what's going on in that space as well.
Absolutely. Who would like to jump in?
Because it is for proxy advisory firms itself directly to us. See, obviously, we will go where the investors are, right? I mean, at the end of the day, and that is fair to us, where the issues are. I mean, be it a 100 crore market cap company or a 500 crore market cap company, if an investor is there and seeking some redressal, we will definitely help. So that is the response. We, in fact, this year have worked on a couple of cases where very activist shareholders in just a 500 crore market cap kind of a company, we have helped such a shareholder. But of course, the outcomes, I mean, media doesn't cover it. Those kind of issues are there. That's a different matter altogether.
Okay, we'll continue to discuss that one offline. But closing comments then.
I guess it kind of factors into your risk appetite, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Sudeep.
No, I was just saying that it also, if you're going to chase a multi-bagger small company, then you're obviously, your risk appetite about governance is probably should be higher. If you are a little more conservative, then perhaps it's better to stick to the bigger companies which now have much more scrutiny and your chances of burning your fingers in this are lesser. So it kind of also, what returns you're chasing, what your risk appetite is, should decide what sort of company also you are pursuing.
Rakesh Jhunjhunwala Akasa has decided to fly with Boeing. The airline has placed a massive order for 72 of the 737 MAX aircraft. The order has been pegged at $9 billion and includes 737-8 and high-capacity 737-8-200 aircraft. The order puts the airline in direct collision course with bigger players like Indigo, SpiceJet and Air India. The order is also a big boost for Boeing, which is a distant second to Airbus in the Indian market. This is amongst the largest aircraft orders after the pandemic. Mensa Brands becomes India's fastest unicorn with $135 million in funding within 6 months of launch. The brand's aggregator and roll-up firm, founded by former Myntra CEO and MedLife co-founder Anant Narayan. Bengaluru-based Mensa has raised a total of more than $300 million in equity and debt. The firm has been valued at over $1 billion in the latest round of funding and is the 36th startup to achieve unicorn status in 2021 in India. Mensa kick-started its journey in May 21 with a vision to partner and invest in digital-first brands across fashion, home, beauty, personal care and food and scale them exponentially. Company runs a model similar to the US-based Thrasio. It has acquired 12 brands so far in categories such as designer saris, jewelry, menswear, smart devices and personal care. Good news for those travelling by trains. Passenger fares could fall by as much as 15% in the next few days. With COVID largely in the rear-view mirror, Indian Railways is looking at normalizing its operations as much as possible, and that also includes a reduction in fares.
Your travel budget for the next trip home or for a holiday could be much lower than what it is today. In a big move, Indian Railways is normalizing its operations, reverting from the special trains and services it was running during COVID and the subsequent lockdown. In a letter to the entire network, Railways had ordered that all trains will now be operated with their regular numbers and fares will revert to normal pre-COVID prices. Since COVID, all normal services had been scrapped and trains were being run only as specials or holiday specials with corresponding higher ticket prices. With the decision to revert to normal services, the ticket prices will fall to normal, which are around 15% lower. For railways, COVID has been a particularly difficult time and its financials have literally been derailed. There has been a recent uptick with 118 crore passengers travelling by train in the April to September period. This is exponentially higher than the figure last year, but still very low as compared to 2019. The revenues have been correspondingly falling, with the railways still struggling to cover its expenses. With the latest order, services on 1,700 trains will be normalized. However, passengers will still not be provided cooked food and platform ticket prices will still remain high to deter crowding at railway stations. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the 341-kilometer Purvanchal Expressway in Uttar Pradesh by landing on the highway airstrip in an IAF C-130 Hercules plane. It was a sight made for television. It's not going to be the only one. There are several other highway projects underway across India, which will also be airstrip grade. Chetan Bhutani has more on this.
It is a rare sight for a Prime Minister to land in a military plane on a highway. Pole-bound Uttar Pradesh and the rest of India today saw an American-built 4-engine turboprop military transport aircraft land on the Purvanchal Expressway. The landing drove home several points, including the focus on infrastructure and development by the Modi government.
ये एक्सप्रेसवे लखनऊ से उन शहरों को जोड़ेगा जिनमें विकास की असीम आकांक्षा है। योगी जी के नेतृत्व में 22,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा भले खर्च किए हो, लेकिन भविष्य में ये एक्सप्रेसवे लाखों करोड़ के उद्योगों को यहां लाने का माध्यम बनेगा।
The work is underway for building at least 17 more emergency landing strips across India. These facilities will be constructed on portions of highways in West Bengal, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, Assam and Andhra Pradesh.
Well, some of the sections identified for this purpose on the proposed highways include from Kharagpur in West Bengal to Kyonja in Odisha, on the Nellore to Ongole stretch in Andhra Pradesh and Bhuj to Nalia road stretch in Gujarat.
Today's landing is a key milestone in a plan that started in 2016 with the formation of an inter-ministerial joint committee by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways under the Cabinet Minister Nitin Gadkari. The committee included the Ministry of Defence and the Indian Air Force and was taken to look into the feasibility of setting up such emergency landing airstrips. In October 2017, Indian Air Force fighter jets and transport planes conducted mock landings on the Lucknow-Agra Expressway. Earlier this year, an emergency landing was inaugurated on National Highway 925 in the crude oil-producing region of Barmer, Rajasthan. Today's landing of the C-130J will not be the last and marks the coming of age of the great Indian highway. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Let's get to an exclusive conversation with the president of the World Economic Forum, Jorge Brenda. In a conversation with me, he lauded the Indian government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. He also appreciated India's commitments at the recent COP26 summit. Brenda went on to praise the structural reforms undertaken by the country to boost the economy. Listen in to an excerpt of that conversation. Tell us a little bit more about how things are changing post-COVID, how economies are now starting to come together to once again really look at the recovery and the pace of recovery going ahead.
Very interesting to see how fast the Indian economy is recovering. At the World Economic Forum, we do expect that India will grow with at least 10% next year. We're seeing that jobs are back. Of course, there are still challenges with the global value chains. We also see inflationary pressure even in India. But overall, we have a very bullish outlook for the Indian economy. And as you were also alluding to, there is a lot of interest in India. India is now the country that many are looking at, and also for playing a very important stabilizing role in a geopolitical landscape that is unfortunately more and more polarized. I think there is more reforms needed, of course, also in the Indian economy. It's all about increased productivity.
Right.
If you are able to increase your productivity, you will also down the line be able to increase your prosperity. And with the young population of India, there's so much needed investments in infrastructure, investments in education, and also what we're seeing on gender equality is very important. So not everything is solved, but definitely India is on a good track for a recovery, and huge interest also to learn more. And I think you will see a lot of more investments coming to India too. But India is also a large investor itself in its neighborhood. If you look to, for example, the neighboring countries, but also globally, India is really a superpower when it comes to investments also.
The chairman of the Ireo Group, Lalit Goyal, has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case. Goyal was detained by immigration authorities at Delhi airport on 11th of November when he was trying to fly abroad. Since then, he was being questioned about his involvement in financial frauds. ED has been probing a FEMA violation case against his company since 2010. According to agency sources, Goyal was arrested because he had not been cooperating in the questioning. He'll be taken to Chandigarh and produced in a court. Goyal's name had figured in Pandora Papers. According to reports, he had moved assets worth $77 million to an offshore trust in British Virgin Islands. His company, which has more than 20 projects in Delhi, NCR, Punjab, Goa and Tamil Nadu, meanwhile is deep in the red, having posted losses of 500 crore rupees in 2018-19. In other corporate news, IT solutions company Coforge, formerly known as NIIT Tech, has filed with the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission for an initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange via ADRs. Promoter Barings Private Equity Asia will sell part stake as part of the proposed transaction. The Delhi High Court today directed the Competition Commission of India to dispose of in 2 weeks a petition by Future Group's independent directors seeking revocation of approvals given to its deal with Amazon. They had sought revocation of the deal 2 weeks ago on grounds of misrepresentation by Amazon. The High Court was hearing a petition by the Confederation of All India Traders, CIT, seeking protection for 6,000 traders who had supplied 10,000 crore rupees worth of goods to the Future Group. JP Morgan Chase on Monday sued Elon Musk's Tesla for $162.2 million, accusing the electric car company of flagrantly violating a contract related to stock warrants after its share price soared. JP Morgan Chase said the actions of Tesla amounted to a financial default. The festive season is over, but the earnings season for the Indian marriage industry is just starting. The big Indian wedding festival has begun, and according to some estimates, it has the potential to put the entire Indian economy on track again.
This wedding was billed as the do of the season. Actor Rajkumar Rao tied the knot with his longtime girlfriend Patrulekha on the 15th of November. It was a typical big fat Indian wedding at a resort outside Chandigarh. After deafening silence last year, wedding bells are ringing loud and clear this November and December. With COVID restrictions loosened, invites are again going out and crowds are gathering to celebrate weddings. And importantly, the cash registers are also ringing again. Trade body CAIT estimates 25 lakh weddings will happen this wedding season, which began on the 14th of November and will last till 13th of December. The Traders Association claims that revenue from these weddings will be a whopping 3 lakh crore rupees. 1.5 lakh weddings are likely in Delhi alone and will create a business of 50,000 crore rupees. Importantly, this money will flow into businesses hit hard by recent lockdowns. These include sectors as varied as textiles, jewelry, house repairs, caterers, hotels and banquet halls, flower decorations and travel.
The items which are going to be getting good business includes the tapestry, the furnishing fabric, golden jewelry, footwear, then gift items, and then again sweets, toys, and so many other things what all required in a wedding. And of course, beside this, it is going to give much big business to banquet halls, farmhouses, hotels, restaurants, and all these people. Of course, to the catering service, and it is certainly going to give temporary employment to lakhs of people.
Another sector reaping the rewards of the post-COVID bloom is the hotel industry. Already on a high thanks to revenge travel, hotels and their wedding venues are fully booked for the next few months. This is especially true for hotspots like Goa, Udaipur, Jaipur, Kodaikanal in Kerala, which are popular for destination weddings. Some of the top hotel brands have even stopped taking bookings for weddings and other events.
People want to get married and they want to have elaborate weddings. People wanting to get married last year had like mini monies, but now want to have a more elaborate event. They are also coming up. So it's more like a pent-up demand. So the growth that we are seeing and witnessing at this point in time is not just an attribution of what was postponed from last year, but also what was to happen this year as well.
International travel has also received a boost, with more and more countries reopening their doors to Indian travelers. And with domestic airlines also ramping up their frequencies, wedding parties have more options to choose from to splurge and do their share for the economy. With Chetan Bhutani, Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
And that's all we have for you on the show today. Thanks so much for watching.